And welcome back for another edition of Calhoun County's Most Wanted. I'm Chris Wright, along with Chief Deputy Matthew Wade from the Calhoun County Sheriff's Office. And we appreciate you joining us to help us try to catch some bad guys. Matthew, how are you doing today?
Oh, I'm doing great, man. It's blazing hot summer, but I do love it. Kids are out of school, fun things are going on, and anybody with children just knows it's a magical time for kids to be able to romp and run and play. So.
Yeah, they think they can stay up until 2 o'clock in the morning and then sleep until 2 o'clock in the afternoon.
If they're up at 2 o'clock in the morning, unless I'm getting called out for something bad happening, I'll never know it because I'm asleep at that time.
They're also out there at this time of the year getting some fireworks.
Hey, fireworks are fun. They're cool. You got to be safe with them. I had a friend of mine in high school who kids were playing a bottle rocket war and hit him in the eye. And he's 42 years old and he's lived with that since he's been about 13. So it can happen and they are dangerous.
We talk about fireworks safety every year. One of the main things is you have some adults that know better, but they do it anyway. Then you also have a bunch of kids that just really don't know. They know kind of better, but they really don't know the full impact of what they could be doing. I remember we used to go out and we would take the bottle rockets and shoot them at this guy's house try to land them between his car and his house. And then he came out with a gun and that was the end of that. But
hey, in today's world, it's a good point. I mean, in today's world, we watch the news, things are different. And when you're young and you've never seen that things really can be bad and bad things can happen to you, when you're 15, you just don't really have that grasp of that yet. And it's up to parents to say no and to explain the dangers and to have a little. Every parent wants their kids to love them, but being a parent is about setting rules and guidelines and making sure they don't go past them for their own good.
And with fireworks, even if you do everything exactly correctly, kids assume that every single one of those fireworks is going to work exactly the way it's supposed to, and that's not the fact.
That's not the fact. I've been chased by a Roman candle before. So, I mean, they can fall over, things can happen, and they are dangerous.
So, yeah, enjoy some fireworks as we approach the 4th of July if you want to, but please be very careful with those and make sure that you're not just sending the kids out to do whatever they feel like.
Hey, little guidance and guidelines is good.
Well, let's talk about what the viewers have achieved this week.
Another week that we've never been let down. There's always been arrests every week, and this week we have 5. 5 more people put in jail because people were willing to get involved. It brings our count up to 3,723 people put in jail, all because of this show. And we were just talking just yesterday that we think this show's been going on for at least 12 years.
It has been 12 years now.
So, a lot of good things have happened. Routinely go places, people go, hey, you're on the TV show. And we appreciate those. Without the people watching, we wouldn't have anything. And it does take a whole community to help us do our job. We cannot do it alone, nor do we want to.
Absolutely. All right, well, we appreciate you being involved and watching here on the show, and we will take a quick break. When we come back, we'll have the first half of this week's lineup, and we're going to talk about some exciting things happening in our community here later on this week on Calhoun County's Most Wanted.
Amazing grace.
How sweet the sound that saved
a crackhead, drug addict, alcoholic, meth freak, a rich like me.
I once was
homeless,
broken, sad,
just lost. But now I am sober,
happy.
I'm found. Was blind, but now I see.
Every day, shattered lives are restored thanks to the goods you donate to the Salvation Army.
I have a lot of land that I have to keep up. I'd recommend Mahindra. I've never had any trouble with mine. Like I said, I do a lot of bush hogging. I do a lot of garden tilling. The service department has been great. Every time I've ever called or needed anything done, they have done it for me.
Hey folks, come see us at Foothills Tractor. We're your one-stop shop for anything you need. Locally owned, locally operated, give you the best customer service guaranteed.
AOD Federal Credit Union. You already know their friendly staff and great loan products. So here's reason number 8 to choose AOD FCU, a new all-platinum Visa credit card. Call 1-800-637-0299 or visit AODFCU.com to start earning 1% cash back on purchases. Your good credit earns you a better rate, a new Platinum Visa card, another reason you belong at AOD Federal Credit Union.
The Ford brand has always brought you impressive style and legendary quality, and Sonny King Ford brings you the lowest price and the largest inventory, new or pre-owned. The new 2015 F-150 gets the best gas mileage of any truck without giving up its powerful towing capacity. The iconic new 2015 Mustang, with its classic pony car looks and hunkered down stance, preserves a legacy that defines American motoring. For over 93 years, Sonny King Ford, for the best cars and best price.
Hello, my name is Brooklyn Verdi, and I'm filling in for Miss Katina Stroud. I'm an up-and-coming freshman, and today I'm going to spread a little extra awesomeness on your 2K16 summer. Now, as you know, hashtag 2K16 and hashtag summer are some of the most used hashtags today. But how can you enjoy your summer if you can't enjoy yourself? With that said, I'm going to give you 3 pro tips on how to improve your self-esteem. Tip 1, listen to music, uplifting music. Most teens have a slight addiction to music, whether it's R&B, hip-hop, rap, gospel, jazz, country, instrumental, you name it, somebody loves it. Every type has some kind of motivation in its music. Find that. Find your musical motivation. Tip 2, wear your personality proudly. When you start really being yourself, you're going to respect yourself more, regardless of what anyone else says. And when you respect yourself more, everyone else will also. Tip 3, I think it's most important to have good friends. Your friends should love and empower you. Start with having friends who accept you for who you are, people you can be yourself around. Once you see that people will love you for you, you will definitely branch out. Remember, having good self-esteem and having confidence are very valuable to building a person's character. Anyway, that's all my pro tips for now. Have a happy 2K16 summer, and don't forget the hashtag.
And welcome to this week's edition of Calhoun County's Most Wanted. First up in our lineup this week, Cameron Milleron. Mr. Milleron, last known to be living in Anniston, he's wanted for failure to appear on negotiating a non-negotiable instrument. So that's writing bad checks, folks. Now, next up is Stephen Prince. Mr. Prince, last known to be living in Jacksonville, he's also wanted for failure to appear on writing worthless checks. Take a look at Jeremy Watkins. Mr. Watkins, last known to be living in Jacksonville, he's wanted for domestic violence third assault. And we'd like you to meet Vicki Phillips. Miss Phillips, last known to be living in Jacksonville, she's wanted for failure to appear on writing multiple worthless checks. And this is Joshua Herbert. Mr. Hilbert, last known to be living in Alexandria, he's wanted for bond revocation on possession of drug paraphernalia and possession of a controlled substance. And take a look at Anthony Rivera Rosario. Mr. Rivera Rosario, last known to be living in Anniston, wanted for domestic violence third, harassing communications. And last up in the first half of our lineup, Kenneth Griffin. Mr. Griffin, last known to be living in Oxford, he's wanted for failure to appear on theft of property third. And that's it for the first half of our lineup. Stay tuned for the second half later in the show.
We'll have the second half of the lineup coming up in just a little bit, but right now Pete Conroy is joining us to talk about something that's going to be happening on Friday in Anniston, a very exciting day as we dedicate the Anniston Civil Rights Trail. Cool, Pete, good to see you.
Good to see you, and it's always great to be here. Yeah, this project has been a very long time coming. And Miss Georgia Calhoun, who you may know from Choccolocco Valley, has been really the head of the pack in terms of this particular project. And as the community is realizing that heritage tourism is a real thing and that people will travel to our city because of the things that have happened here related to the civil rights movement, we've decided to open the door a little bit wider. And Miss Calhoun has come up with 10 different plaques. And these plaques are a historical marker, beautiful plaques that will last in theory forever. And they'll be placed in places that represent the spots where things have happened. Some things that were horrible. There was shootings and there was violence, but there was redemption, and it's a story that many people would like to know more about. And so these 10 plaques will be revealed on Friday, but there's a ceremony Friday at 11 o'clock.
Is it public knowledge exactly which 10 areas these plaques are going to be memorializing? Or?
Not just yet. There is a website that we should show on this broadcast so folks can go there and see what the city of Anniston has worked out, but yeah, like it's the public library and the story of 1963 where Reverend McCain and others had decided as black men they would test to see if the library was open, and they met difficulties, violence, and then wasn't too long after that the community recognized what needed to happen, and everything changed, and with no incident they went in to check out books.
Yeah, there's different ways of viewing history. History is what it is, but there are different perspectives of looking back at history, and you can look back and say this was a horrible event, or you can look back and say this was a spark that changed things. And things have changed. Not everything has changed, but this Sunday I'm a member at Anniston First United Methodist Church, and I don't know what it was like in that particular church back in the 1960s. I imagine different from today. This Sunday we had a sermon from a black minister from Glen Addy. Now they're becoming New Life Church. They're relaunching their church, and we've been sharing the facility at Anniston First for the last several months with this congregation, and we had a unified service and music and everything that you would not expect in a predominantly white church in Anniston, Alabama, and everybody enjoyed it. It was a great thing with no fanfare, no incidents. It's just a great church service. Things have changed.
It sounds like a beautiful experience, and
Yeah.
we all scratch our heads. Why doesn't that happen more often? And but Friday at 11 o'clock at the 16th Street Baptist Church, everyone is invited, and Reverend McCain will speak. He's now in his late 80s, I understand. But interestingly enough, the gentleman who will introduce him is the Reverend Phil Noble. And Phil is now, Reverend Noble is living in Atlanta. He's in his mid-90s. And he will recount his experiences, as will Reverend McCain. And, you know, these stories are just passing by as we all get older. And so this is going to be one of the last great glimpses into what had really happened by two people, a white man and a black man, from their own perspectives. But at the end of the day, Anniston and Calhoun County become a focal point as we're looking at this national park concept, the Freedom Riders Park concept.
And Matthew, of course, law enforcement always is playing a pivotal role in the events of the past and how things move on in the forward into the future. And I'm sure that we're ready to make sure that this goes the way we hope it goes.
I'm sure it'll go well. Things that cross my mind is out of tragedy, good things can happen, and out of, it goes back to your point of people's perspective. But in today's world, that's our hope. We teach our children to quote Martin Luther King, is to judge them on their character by not the color of their skin, and that's something that's important. And we see what's happening in our world today with so much violence, and all we can do is try to understand each other and try to come out with a greater understanding of how to love each other and how to serve each other as neighbors and as a community.
That's absolutely right.
Well, let's talk about the event itself real briefly, and we'll talk more in just a few minutes, but just briefly, the actual dedication itself, where is that, when is that, what can people get involved in?
Yeah, this is the poster, and it's the 17th Street Baptist Church, and the keynote is Reverend William McLean, like I was just explaining. And online there's some more details, but basically this is the event, the 11 o'clock at the church, where everyone is invited.
11 o'clock on Friday, June the 24th.
That's exactly right. And throughout the area, plaques like this one here will be unveiled, and they'll be seen for the first time on Friday. Right now they're not yet available, but Friday folks can see what I suspect thousands and tens of thousands of people will come to see. These, again, are heritage tourists. But now, with this interest in establishing Freedom Riders Park as a unit of the National Park Service, this is becoming kind of a big deal. And I have a little personal experience with the creation of Little River Canyon as a national park. And let me tell you, right now it is enjoying $16 million a year in economic impact with over 200,000 visitors. And I predict that if our Freedom Riders National Park becomes a unit of the National Park Service, it will change the economy of our region. People from all around the world want to know this story.
All right, well, we'll talk more about that in just a second. We need to take a quick break. When we come back, we'll have the second half of this week's lineup and more about the Anniston Civil Rights Trail on Calhoun County's Most Wanted.
Your word is rigmarole.
Can you define it?
A long, complicated, and annoying process.
Can you use it in a sentence?
The last time I tried to buy a car, I just got a big load of rigmarole.
Well, you should have gone to Jacksonville Auto Sales.
Jacksonville Auto Sales across from Walmart in Jacksonville, or find us on the web at jascars.com. Remember, Jacksonville Auto Sales, home of the no rigmarole deal.
Amazing Grace.
How sweet the sound that saved
A crackhead, drug addict, alcoholic, meth freak, a wretch like me.
I once was.
Homeless,
Broken. Sad.
just lost. But now I am sober.
Happy.
I'm found. Was blind, but now I see.
Every day, shattered lives are restored thanks to the goods you donate to the Salvation Army.
The Ford brand has always brought you impressive style and legendary quality, and Sonny King Ford brings you the lowest price and the largest inventory, new or pre-owned. The new 2015 F-150 gets the best gas mileage of any truck without giving up its powerful towing capacity. The iconic new 2015 Mustang, with its classic pony car looks and hunkered down stance, preserves a legacy that defines American motoring. For over 93 years, Sonny King Ford, for the best cars and best price.
And welcome to the second half of our lineup. First up this half, John Geralds. Mr. Geralds, last known to be living in Anniston, he's wanted for failure to appear on writing multiple worthless checks. And this is Rebecca McCoy. Miss McCoy, last known to be living in Anniston, she's wanted for failure to appear on writing multiple worthless checks. And take a look at Kelvin Caver. Mr. Caver, last known to be living in Anniston, he's wanted for failure to pay on burglary third. And we'd like you to meet Kyle Sharpton. Mr. Sharpton, last known to be living in Anniston, he's wanted for failure to pay on possession of a controlled substance. And meet Eric Roberts. Mr. Roberts, last known to be living in Wellington, he's wanted for failure to appear on resisting arrest and failure to appear on child support, the face of a deadbeat dad. And last up in our lineup this week, Andre Crook. Mr. Crook, last known to be living in Anniston, he's wanted for probation violation on felony domestic violence assault. And that's it for our lineup this week. If you have any knowledge of the whereabouts of these folks, we hope you'd give us a call at Crime Stoppers. That's 256-238-1414.
All right, we'll have the Crime Stoppers segment of the show coming up in just a few minutes, talk about some unsolved crimes that hopefully you can help us solve. Right now we're talking with Pete Conroy about the Anniston Civil Rights Trail, which will be dedicated on Friday at 11 o'clock in the morning, and we invite everybody to be out there for that dedication. And understand that we're going to have teachers, educators from all over the region in town for that.
Yeah, it's really interesting. It's been kind of an evolution in terms of what's happened. But a young teacher by the name of Teresa Lambert, and she's teaching at Welburn, she has developed an interest in diversity and inclusion, and now there are students from that high school, black and white, that are really studying what had happened years ago. And it's been so uplifting and positive. One of the young women before the Freedom Riders and the National Park Service, when they were doing their reconnaissance survey, she said that school had beat her and built her. And I'm telling you, everyone in the room kind of teared up just a little bit. But I think all of us can relate to the ups and downs of life. But if we don't learn from them, it's our own mistakes. Teresa, this teacher, has organized a teacher workshop through our Freedom Riders Park Committee, and school teachers from around the South are going to be coming in on Thursday, Friday, and Saturday. And they will be there on Friday at 11 o'clock, but then they'll go into roundtables and workshops to talk about this from a curriculum point of view and an educational point of view.
Yeah. I hope that I hope that we do end up being part of the National Park Service and all these great things happen. What I hope doesn't happen is what happens so often is you have something great in your community and people come from everywhere else to see it, and the people in the community take it for granted and never really check it out.
Yeah, that's messed up. I'm kind of like that. I grew up in Asheville, North Carolina, and never went to see the Biltmore House until I moved away.
You know why they call it the Biltmore, right? Because they built more than they needed.
Yeah, they built a lot. But in any case, yeah, I know what you mean. And but the National Park Service, who's looking at this right now, is most impressed because of this community's overall support and involvement with this effort. The elected officials, the corporations, the educational community, and just local folks all getting excited.
And you don't always see support locally for events like this because we've tried to move past the toxic town USA in Anniston with all the chemicals and such. We've tried to move past the negatives, but here we are building memorials, a civil rights trail to talk about things that certainly were not positives in our history. And there have to be some people looking and say, we don't need to talk about that, but we do, don't we?
Yeah, and of course our focus is always on the positive. President Kennedy, after this incident had occurred in Anniston, that group was put together, the Unification Committee was put together, and the President of the United States said Anniston responded so positively it should be a model for the rest of the nation. I think that's been lost in history, that the President of the United States called out Anniston for having been a positive model.
And that's exactly the kind of thing that we want. Everybody knows that buses were burned in Anniston. Everybody knows that some bad things happened. But most people don't know the full story, and you don't always hear about the heroes. There are heroes in these stories.
So many heroes, and I'm glad from an outsider's point of view to have the people tell these fantastic stories. I have learned just so much. My life has been made so much richer by all of my new friends that are involved with this project, black and white, elected, corporate, students, kids. I mean, for a lot of kids, Martin Luther King is nothing more than a holiday and a day off of school. And to see the meaning of what has happened to allow for what we all have now, it's an exciting time. And I want to give Dr. Barbara Boyd a lot of credit for putting together a committee. And I'm chairing the committee along with Freedom Rider Bill Harbor. And Bill Harbor's from Piedmont and was one of the Freedom Riders. Charles Person, he was on the Trailways bus. He's now on our committee. Hank Thomas, of course, he is the only living Freedom Rider now living in Atlanta, and he's working with us.
All right, so the Civil Rights Trail, this is happening. It's being dedicated on Friday. Nothing's going to stop it. It's happening. The National Park designation, that's something that we hope will happen. We don't know it will happen. People watching the show, is there any influence that we can have to help it happen?
No, just keep doing what we've been doing and recognize the money that will come from heritage tourism. Recognize that this is a positive project about community coming together to do good things. And I think that we are already kind of a model for a community that can get along when we need to, and that's a good thing.
All right, so excited about what's going to be happening here, and folks can go online and research more, but the main thing, get out there on Friday at 11 o'clock and be part of that dedication there. I hope we have a huge overflowing crowd.
I will always add Freedom Rider Park Facebook page. It's a pretty good spot to get information. We'll have that posted.
Very good. Pete, thank you very much for being here, for the work you're doing, and we look forward to Friday. Should be a beautiful day weather-wise.
Thanks to you, and also thanks to the Sheriff's Office for doing all you've done to watch over Freedom Riders Park over the past years, and everything's looking good, so thank you.
Thank you.
All right. We'll be right back with the Crime Stopper segment of the show and our Crazy Criminal of the Week on Calhoun County's Most Wanted.
AOD Federal Credit Union. You already know their friendly staff and great loan products. So here's reason number 8 to choose AOD FCU, a new all-platinum Visa credit card. Call 1-800-637-0299 or visit AODFCU.com to start earning 1% cash back on purchases. Your good credit earns you a better rate. A new Platinum Visa card. Another reason you belong at AOD Federal Credit Union.
Your word is rigmarole.
Can you define it?
A long, complicated, and annoying process.
Can you use it in a sentence?
The last time I tried to buy a car, I just got a big load of rigmarole.
Well, you should have gone to Jacksonville Auto Sales.
Jacksonville Auto Sales across from Walmart in Jacksonville, or find us on the web at jascars.com. Remember, Jacksonville Auto Sales, home of the no rigmarole deal.
Amazing Grace.
How sweet the sound that saved
A crackhead, drug addict, alcoholic, meth freak, a wretch like me.
I once was.
Homeless,
Broken. Sad.
just lost. But now I am sober.
Happy.
I'm found. Was blind, but now I see.
Every day, shattered lives are restored thanks to the goods you donate to the Salvation Army.
I have a lot of land that I have to keep up. I'd recommend Mahindra. I've never had any trouble with mine. Like I said, I do a lot of bush hogging. I do a lot of garden tilling. The service department has been great. Every time I've ever called or needed anything done, they have done it for me.
Hey folks, come see us at Foothills Tractor. We're your one-stop shop for anything you need. Locally owned, locally operated, give you the best customer service guaranteed.
And welcome to the Crime Stoppers portion of our show, where we ask you to take a look at these cases and help our investigators. First up on your caseload this week, between June 9th and June 13th, a Yamaha four-wheeler was stolen from this residence on Mount View Road in Wellington. And sometime on June 17th, a Troy-built lawnmower was stolen from a residence on Old Chakalaka Road in Anniston. And then again on June 18th, a residence on Airport Road was shot into. Witnesses stated that the suspect's vehicle was a white Nissan Altima. And last up on the caseload this week, between June 16th and June 18th, a Harley-Davidson motorcycle was stolen from this residence on Prickettville Road. Now, if you have any information on these cases, and we hope you do, please give us a call at Crime Stoppers. That number, 256-238-1414. Remember, we want your information, but not your name.
Stupid! You're so stupid!
All right, it's time for our crazy criminal of the week now on Calhoun County's Most Wanted. And Matthew, I'm sure you run into problems all the time with hit and run in town. Somebody will have an accident and then just scoot off.
Yeah, it happens pretty frequently.
They usually get found, though, don't they?
We try our best to find them.
Mm-hmm. We had one in Dadeville, Alabama, down by Lake Martin here recently, where there was a white Ford Mustang that was involved in an accident, then took off, left the scene. So they're searching for the vehicle, and through the branches, an officer was able to spot the vehicle. See if you would have been able to spot this from the road. This was the car hidden from view.
That's awesome. You can tell they're not hunters. We'll leave it at that. That their camouflage has some lacks a little bit there.
The officer was able to go up and verify that yes, there was a dent in the expected place, and this was the vehicle.
You know, when you got there right there is like, okay, we're looking for a white Mustang. Let me do something that really draws attention to it. You know, because that looks normal to me, riding down the road going, well, that looks normal. Everybody puts
I would
tree
never do a
branches
double take on that. No.
You know, everybody puts dead tree branches over their car because they like to scratch their cars up daily. So that makes perfect sense.
That's so many people make a mistake and then they double down on their mistake.
So often people make a mistake instead of just stopping and going, I made a mistake.
Deal with it.
They go on and they make it worse. Yeah.
All right, well, that's all the time that we have for this week. We thank you for joining us. We'll be looking for you again next week, but hopefully not in the lineup on Calhoun County's Most Wanted.